Okay, welcome. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. So question for you today is, how many friends do you have?
None. Nobody likes me.
Oh,
That's easy. Zero. Oh, you're my friend? Okay, one.
One, okay.
Oh, two. Oh,
So
two.
how many friends do you have?
Two. Okay.
Anyone else here? Anyone online? Want to
friends or acquaintances, like good friends or acquaintances?
Let's start with friends.
Yeah. Because I mean, I only have one good friend, but then like I have like multiple just like friend acquaintances.
What was that?
She said she has multiple friends, acquaintances.
That's similar for me too. Like lots of acquaintances, way less friends that I used to have when I was younger.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think that's about the same for me too.
You're my friend.
You know, a few good ones and others that are
Always
very close ones, and then a lot that are
Alrighty.
Probably because she thinks it's
more occasional.
Okay, so guys, let's not have two conversations at once.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So question is that how many true friends do you have?
Right.
So it sounds like most of you are kind of right away said that you have one friend, you have two friends, and many are acquaintances friends. But right, how many friends are really true friends?
None.
None.
You know, it's interesting because some people I thought were just sort of more like lightweight friend acquaintances ended up like sort of offering, like when the fires happened, they were like, oh, one of my friends was like, do you want to, we have an extra bedroom in Long Beach. You can come and stay for a month. Like, and she has two little kids. Like, you know, so some people surprised me like that.
Wow, okay. I'm just gonna get someone else start
what do you do?
the Zoom to join our class.
They're interested.
So
Right. Who's interested in you, right? Neither themselves.
Because like in the day to day, we don't like talk that much. So I don't know sometimes the definition of how friend.
another question I have now is there's a famous Jewish, let's say, adage thing, concept called love your fellow as yourself. What does that mean?
Oh boy, I know people who love themselves a lot.
So what does that mean, love yourself
Engineering,
as
whoa.
yourself?
So many people love themselves. Yeah, I wish that would happen. I wish that would happen at work. I wish.
Care about them. You're truly interested in them. You're
Okay.
What was the question? Sorry.
Love your fellow as yourself. What does it mean? And do you think you can really do that?
No.
I think women have definitely, I hate to be sexist, but women totally can. And
So
then
women are more
women
like resonate more with people, are more compassionate, is
yes.
what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to say that. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I think it means you want the best for them, just as you want the best for yourself. But I think a lot of times people, even if you're well-intentioned, you kind of don't because, you know, then you feel worse about yourself. It's a really bad thing.
So I grew up with this story, this famous story. And I just kind of like clicked in my brain when I was like preparing the class. And it's a famous story about this like boy and his, or a young man and his father discussing friendship. And the young man says, oh, I have so many friends. I have like, 100 friends, and if it was today, you would say, yes, I have like 1,000 friends on Facebook and, 2,000 followers on Instagram. And the father says, oh, I only have one friend and 1.5 friends. And the son's like, what? How could that be? Come on. And the father says, yes. How many of your friends are really your friend and really, really care about you like themselves? And he said, oh, come on. So the father says, okay, do this experiment. And he took like a big sack and he put something inside the sack and he said, go to your friends or your friends, multiple houses, go to them and say, you have the king's head in the sack. Can they hide you?
Oh, yeah, right.
And the son goes off and he tries 1 friend, 2 friends, 3 friends, 10 friends. Obviously, after a few, everyone says, get out of here. They kick him out. They pretend, they defriend him. And and he comes back to the father and said, oh, you're right. None of them would do that for me. So, okay, now go to my friend and go ask him the same question. And so he goes to the friend. He says, oh, I'm the son of, so-and-so. I did something maybe a little bit wrong. I have the king's head in my sack over here. Can you help me? Can you hide me? And the friend says, sure, come in. And he, hides him, whatever. Okay, so obviously he tells him, okay, it was just this experiment. And then he goes back to the dad and said, okay, what's the half friend? And he says, that friend would do it, but he would do it a little bit begrudgingly. So So really, right. So what is a real friend? What's a true friend? And what does it really mean when we say love your fellow as yourself, or the Hebrew word of avat Yisrael, love another Jew. What's this all about? So believe it or not, in this week's Parsha.
You recording?
Yes. In this week's Parsha, that is the verse, the mitzvah of loving your neighbor as yourself. So we're going to talk about that today. So it's actually this week is a double portion. It's Achrei and Kedoshim, and they both, over here, they both talk about being holy, okay? So when we think of, in our relationship to God, how can we be holy? How can we conduct ourselves proper way, in a holy way? But also, obviously, there must be something in our relationship to others in being holy or being ethical or moral. So we're going to look inside and see what this means, what it means to be holy, and what this concept of loving your fellow is all about today. Okay. Okay. So, 1 second. Oh, this is not. Oh, whoa. Hey guys, I'm sorry. This is the wrong PDF. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pull up. This is the one without this text, and that means none of you guys can read. So I'm going to pull up the right one with the text. They do that sometimes they do that to me. Sometimes they tell me this is the PDF with the text, and then it's really the PDF without the text.
You know what page for regular book?
The regular book's page 40.
40, thank you.
So give me a second.
That's right, your age. Exactly. Mine too. Is that your age too? Because all of us are 40 here. It's amazing. That's why we're all friends.
Friends of
All right, let me try this again.
Share with.
Zoom. And let's share again. Okay, let's try this. Is this the right one?
Isn't it almost all day?
Wow. Is it hot there?
Doctor? Who's?
Yeah.
Got my
Okay.
back fixed.
Yeah, but we.
Okay, you guys can see the screen?
No, my airbag.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes.
very easily. It's huge.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Text 1. Do you want to start, Sylvia?
Sure. Don't take revenge from or bear a grudge against the members of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. I am God.
Okay, so this is the verse where it tells us to love your neighbor as yourself. Yahavta l'reacha kamocha. Okay, very famous line and very well known, and maybe it's a little more complicated than it seems. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is what Rashi, the commentary, says, as Rashi's always trying to be like just the plain commentary, the simple explanation on this verse. So let's read text 2. You want to read it?
Yes. Love your neighbor as yourself. Rabbi Akiva says, this is a great principle of the Torah.
Okay, so we see that Rashi quotes Rabbi Akiva. Who's heard of Rabbi Akiva before? Raise your hand.
All of us.
Okay.
Sure. Every Passover.
And what is Rabbi Akiva telling us that's so like amazing or different or foundational that this is a great principle of the Torah? Is it really some great principle? What's so eye-opening about that? Is it?
For certain people.
Okay, so we're going to read a commentary that's kind of saying what's this all about. Okay, text number 3. Okay, yeah.
I can read it again.
Yeah, go ahead, Valentina.
As if to say that all of the Torah is included in the mitzvah. This is similar to Hillel's statement, don't do to others what you wouldn't want to be done to yourself.
I can write it down.
Okay, the text number 3 is kind of like expounding and saying, oh, it's a fundamental issue. It's so fundamental that it kind of like integrates the whole Torah. It's so foundational of the Torah that that we need to fulfill this mitzvah, this obligation. Now, in Hebrew, does it say it over here? No. Okay, so it says, it says it's Rabbi Akiva says, Klal Gadol BaTorah, which means this is a great principle in the Torah, but we can also look at it as kol ha-Torah. This is all the Torah. This is equal. To love a fellow, to be nice to another person is equal to all the Torah.
Is Bass a Jewish name? The guy who wrote this, is Bass a Jewish name?
Yeah.
I know somebody named Bass. I don't know if he's Jewish or not.
Bass becomes more Jewish.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a Jewish name.
Yeah.
Oh, I never asked him. I should ask him.
Maybe not all.
Gordon is a
Okay,
Jewish name.
so there's a very
That
famous
was-
story of there's a very famous story of the sage Hillel in this regard of saying that this is as he quoted that Hillel's statement, don't do to others what you wouldn't want to do to yourself. So let us read this famous story from the Talmud, text number 4. Shelley, you want to do it?
Okay. There was an incident involving one Gentile who came before Shammai and said, "Convert me on condition that you teach me the entire Torah while standing on one foot." Shammai pushed him away with the builder's cubit in his hand. The same Gentile came before Hillel. Hillel converted him and taught that which is hateful to do, what was hateful to you, do not do to another. That is the entire Torah. The rest is commentary. Go study.
So this is such a great principle that it encompasses the whole Torah. It's like the essence of the Torah. So usually Rashi doesn't really comment on moral or ethical value. He's just trying to explain the verse in the Torah. So why is he bringing down like a moral or ethical value? And what's so difficult about to understand it? And number 2 is, why does Rashi have to specifically quote Rabbi Akiva? Because usually Rashi doesn't really quote the author or the person saying something unless it's important to understand, like to help us understand the whole story behind it. Okay. So now we're to understand a little bit more about this concept and about what how love your fellow is a fundamental value in the Torah and equal to the whole Torah. We're going to read earlier, I think in this parsha, more about different interpersonal relationship, laws or guidances that's written in this week's parsha. So let's read text number 5. Tara, you want to read it?
Sure.
Thanks.
Number 9, when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not fully reap the corner of your field, nor shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest. Number 10, you shall not glean your vineyard, and the fallen grapes of your vineyard shall not gather. For the poor and the proselyte, you shall leave them. For the poor and the proselyte, you shall leave them. I am God. 11, you shall not steal, you shall not deny a rightful claim, and each one of you shall not lie to each other. Number 12, you shall not swear falsely by my name, profaning the name of your God. I am God. Number 13, you shall not withhold the wages of your fellow, and you shall not rob. It shall not remain overnight the wage of the day laborer, keeping it in your possession until morning.
Continues. It continues there. Okay.
Number 14, you shall not curse a deaf person, and before a blind person you shall not place a stumbling block. You shall fear your God. I am God. Number 15, you shall not commit injustice in judgment. You shall not favor a poor person, and you shall not show honor to a powerful person. With righteousness shall you judge your fellow. Number 16, do not be a talebearer among your people. You shall not stand idly by when the blood life of your fellow is in danger. I am God. Number 17, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall not certainly rebuke your friend, but you shall not bear a sin on his account.
Okay, so what are all these commands about?
Relationship.
Relationships, how to deal with
Right.
other people, right?
Right.
How to be a good person to somebody else,
I had to
right?
tell a person something today not to hate. He goes, I hate this person. I go, nope, you can't say that.
So it's kind of about being sensitive and to others and being caring for others, think about the poor, don't lie, don't do all these different things. So if we have this command to love your fellow, why do we need all these commands about how to do it? Like all the different things, do this, don't do that, is it redundant? all these mitzvahs, there's so many mitzvahs about treating other people. Do we need all those particular mitzvahs if we also have the mitzvah of loving?
Well, maybe some clarification on things. Some
Okay.
Clarification.
Okay. So Rashi's telling us that loving your fellow is a principle mitzvah. It's a principle, and that's the main part of mitzvah, and then there's all these other little mitzvahs about it. So to understand this better, this idea that there's a principle mitzvah, and then there's like, say small or all these like little individual mitzvahs, specific mitzvahs. Let's think of Shabbos, okay? When you think of Shabbos, someone say, what is Shabbos? What would you answer them? What's Sabbath?
Family and love.
Well, how do you say it? If you want to say, what is Shabbos? Not like
Day of rest.
Day of rest, right?
Yeah. A moment out of time.
Oh, yeah,
Out
God's
of
day.
time.
Yeah, so it's basically like what is Shabbos? And in Hebrew they say Shabbos. There's a little song, Shabbos, Yom Menucha. Shabbos is the day of rest. And right, it says do not work, and on Shabbos you shall rest.
Day to unplug.
So as we'll read
literally,
in text
Literally.
number 6, yeah, it is a day template. Let us read text number 6. It says that. Catherine, you up to reading?
Sure. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you should labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Shabbat to God. On it you should not do any work, you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, or your maidservant, nor your cattle, nor the stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore God blessed the Shabbat day and made it holy.
Okay, so the main thing you get out of here is it's a day of rest, right? Don't work. No work and rest. Yes, remember the Shabbos, make it holy, but the main thing is like we don't work and it's a day of rest. So Shabbos is also, it's like a principle. It's a resting on Shabbos is a principle of Torah. We know that on Shabbos we don't work. Maybe you don't know all the nuances of exactly what you're supposed to do or not supposed to do, but like people say, oh, I want to keep Shabbos, I want to, honor the Shabbos, I'm not going to work. What else they do, that's different. That's something else. But it's a broad concept to say I don't work on Shabbos. Then there's all the laws, where's not turning on the lights come in? Where does, doing all these other little things come in, So there's all these different rules, and all the rules about Shabbos, all the different things that we don't do or do on Shabbos comes from the oral Torah, and it comes from the 39 types of work that they did to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert. But the general idea of Shabbos is resting from work. Okay, so there's a concept Shabbos, and that one says, oh, keep Shabbos, a day of rest. And then what do we do? That's all the little nuances, that's all the little details, that's all the little laws. So the same thing here with loving another person. It's a general concept, it's a general principle. And then there's all these little laws, all these little mitzvahs that fall underneath it. It's kind of outflow of what it means to love your neighbor. So listing all the mitzvahs between people, or all the relationships and stuff like that, it seems it's not really redundant. It's to the general idea of the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, to love your fellow as yourself, but it helps us understand what loving your fellow really is. It helps you understand what that means, what you have to do. And so that's why Rabbi Akiva, he calls it a great principle in the Torah, as we said before. It's because it's beyond all the examples or specific mitzvahs. It's an ethical framework of how we can learn to do all these mitzvahs. So all these little mitzvahs of, don't lie, don't steal, don't do this. It's all an offshoot of the general idea of loving your neighbor.
Right. It's got a clarification.
Clarification. Okay, well, don't worry, we're going to get deeper to that. We're going to start talking this soon. Okay, so but before I go on, there's a little story I wanted to share about that happened in Israel a number of years ago, but not too long ago. There was a young man, Elisha, and he was meeting up with his family. They're all going on vacation in the north for Shabbos, and he was on the highway, stopped to get gas, and there's still about 3 hours to Shabbos. The ride up to the vacation spot was about an hour away, and he's filling out his car. He notices a woman with some children, and she looked really, really agitated. And he says, what's wrong? And he says, you're not gonna believe this, but I accidentally put diesel in my car
Oh, yeah.
instead
That's what
of regular gasoline.
Rachel's friend did that.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
At least in here, I thought here you can't even do it. They don't even let like the holes.
Oh, you're supposed, what's a, well,
It's usually
right.
different. Okay.
Usually different, exactly. Right.
So Alicia listens to her, and she has to get down to a city about 2.5 hours away, which is cutting it really close to Shabbos. And and to go and try to fix the car now to try to extract the diesel,
that's
he goes to
okay.
mechanics, take a lot of time.
Yes.
And
Big time.
he didn't think twice. He took his keys from his car. He said, here, take my car. Here's my phone number. We'll get in touch after Shabbos. Get to where you need to get to for Shabbos. And then he went and he called his dad. And he said, Dad, I'm stuck at the...
Wait, she's Jewish?
Yeah, it's in Israel.
Oh, in Israel. Oh, I didn't know North, man. I didn't know where you were.
Sorry,
You said the North. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So he said, here, take the car, get in time for Shabbos. He calls his father and he explains the situation, and they had just enough time for the father to come down, pick him up, and get back, and they were still in time for Shabbos.
Perfect.
Now, the woman was amazed, she was happy, she was able to get on her way. She just ran because it was gonna be late. And on Sunday, they, got in touch, they met up. She brought back the car, she said, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And he said, oh, don't worry. And his mother, of course, pipes up, he needs a shidduch. He needs to find a girl to get married. And so this woman, she shared the story with this boy's name on Facebook. And sure enough, a few suggestions came in, and one of those first suggestions ended up being his match, and they got married.
True story.
True story.
Oh.
Within the last 10 years.
I would say last 10, 15 years.
Wasn't that wonderful?
Oh.
Yeah.
What site? What site is that? Sorry.
Huh?
What site they met on?
No, they posted on Facebook. The woman posted on Facebook, and then she forwarded the suggestions to his family, and I guess this girl ended up being the great girl. Okay.
Wow.
So anyway, so now we get back to our
woman.
What?
Woman.
I
like woman.
Whatever.
No, girl is
the
bat mitzvah. You're from girl for the woman.
You can be girl when you're 50. You can be married and say girl, right? You say your girlfriends, or you say your woman friends.
I say woman friends. I do.
Correct.
I also say okay. Well, just the connotation of the society.
Anyway, okay. So now I'm going to touch on another question that we had in the beginning of the class. How could we be commanded to love someone, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. How do you be commanded to have an emotion?
Right.
Is that even possible?
That's a good question, is it?
I didn't discuss this before, but we're going to take it.
Okay.
Okay. So I was going to skip those. Okay. So let us read what Ramban Nachmanides has to say about that. Okay, back to Sylvia. Hi, Malka. Hi, Lana.
This is an expression by way of overstatement, for a human heart is not able to accept a command to love one's neighbor as oneself.
Okay, so you can't be commanded. That he's saying it's a little bit of an overstatement. Okay, so how does the Torah command us to have an emotion? So one idea is it's not really commanding us to have an emotion, but we can act lovingly. We can do acts of love and kindness, right? We can act nicely to someone, whether we like them or not, whether we love them or not, but we can, go out of your way and do someone a favor.
We can pretend.
Or not even pretend. You might not hate the person, might not like the person, but do you love them? No. Or you do what you need to do. Okay, this person needs help, you help them, nicely.
The proper thing,
So that's one idea. And that's what text 8 is going to tell us.
I ousted everybody in my tennis class. I was the bad person because I go there to play tennis, not to listen to music. I can't hear. I want to hear the instructor. So the gal, who's a Jewish girl, she went to him, and I said, "This is a city class. It's not private. I don't pay to listen to yours." I said, "I'd call the city." So guess what? He asked, but he turned it off. So now I'm like, really.
No one hates you.
I don't care.
Right, exactly.
I think you were right.
I knew too. It was quiet. It was so nice, and everybody played better.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, text number
That's right. Exactly.
8.
But no, you can't say you did. You made their game better. You made their game better.
Okay, Pat, you want to read it?
Yeah. What the verse means is this: whatever goodness and kindness you think you deserve from those who love you, do that to others.
Okay, so you might not attain an emotional love for somebody, but at least treat them how you would want to be treated by others, right?
That's it,
And that's what we always say.
Right.
So we can act kind and loving to others.
Right.
That doesn't translate to love your neighbor as yourself, literally.
Right.
Okay, so that's one idea.
Mhm.
Now we have another idea, and that is, it's not about little or big, but little, fragmented acts of kindness. But it's a disposition. It's like a paradigm shift. Like have a certain mindset. What is your mindset? Are you looking at things like with it, okay, I have to do this, or oh, should I be kind to this person, or are you looking at it? Oh, let me, I want to love people. I want to be good and kind to people. I want to try to look at people in a good eye, and so I'm going to do whatever I can to make other people's lives, better, nicer,
Sounds like a maturity thing. Sounds like a maturity
Definitely a
thing.
maturity thing. Yes, definitely. So that's like a mindset. You see others in a good light. You see others with compassion. You try to perceive, what they're going through, and in general, and that automatically you do this act of kindness for them because you're looking at life in that way.
It's being mindful or conscientious.
Yeah, conscientious. Yeah.
Conscientious. Yeah, no, conscientious is right.
Yeah.
And conscious too. Well,
So here, there's a little thingy over here. First approach, acts of love. The Torah asks us to perform the acts of love and treat others the way we would want to be treated. And second approach, the Torah asks us to maintain mindset of goodwill and genuine concern for the well-being of others. Okay, so these are two ideas. Let's read text number 9. It's going to tell us that the second one inside. Do you want to read any of that?
Yeah, let's see if I can. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Yeah, this is right. Second approach.
Number 9.
Yeah, an attitude of love. That's the title.
Okay.
All right. This is Nachmanides.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. The Torah's commandment means that one is to love another in all matters as one loves all good for themselves.
Okay. So try to give everyone, all good things, and just look at other people with love and treat that other people like that. Okay. And text number 10, very similar. Back to, I don't know what we're up to over here first. Okay, let's see. Valentina, are you still on, or? Well, okay. Tara, want to read this one?
It means that you should love whatever's good for your friend as you do for yourself.
Okay, similar. So, cultivate within yourself compassion and goodness for others. So there's actually a really cute little story, although I heard it at a sad place. I was at a shiva for a young, I don't know, a teenager or a young adult that passed away, and his mother was saying a story about how the older brother, they said this boy, when he was little, he loved green and yellow lollipops. Now most kids love the red lollipops,
exactly, red and
right?
orange, right?
Right, yeah. So what happened was, as older brothers, they wanted the red and the orange, so they would tell him, "Oh, green's the best color, yellow's the best color." And until he always got that, he convinced himself. They convinced him that it was so good. So they, I guess, in a way, didn't do that because they wanted the red. But the idea is, right, this is the best one. So think of giving that to others as opposed to, oh, I'm going to say this for myself. I'm giving the other person the bad one, right? So try to cultivate, goodwill and compassion and everything for us in general to people, and then you will, be good and kind to them. So it's not just about doing one act to somebody, but it's the whole idea of being loving and compassionate and kind toward other people. So if you just said, okay, I have to do this good act, you did this one good, good thing to someone, yeah, you fulfilled the idea, the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, of, loving your fellow, but you didn't fulfill the second approach of like your whole attitude. Your attitude should be, good and loving, right? So even this explanation is not really still a literal translation for loving your fellow as yourself, okay? Because that doesn't seem to be so realistic. Like maybe it could be a goal, but can you really love someone else? To as much as yourself. So, obviously it's a mindset to strive for. And we could look to see, could we look at something from someone else's perspective? Could we put aside our ego and make room for somebody else? So these are different ideas, but could we really literally love someone else as ourselves? Okay. So Rashi is also grappling with this idea. And that's why we're going to learn now how his approach is really a third approach. Okay? How do we love another? By doing all the mitzvahs of from one person to another. It's called b'nadam l'charo, of man to man or woman to woman, human to human. So this will, when you keep doing those, when you fulfill those mitzvahs, it will bring you to such a love that you will you will like, you will have this whole concept of love within you. You will actually love
Can
it.
you give me an example of one of these mitzvahs to mitzvahs people?
Yeah. So let's say there is a mitzvah that says do not take revenge on somebody, right? Let's say someone, you ask someone for a loan, they say sorry, no, and they say, okay, when they come and ask you for a loan, you go, sorry, you didn't give me a loan, why should I give you a loan,
tit for
right?
tat type of
Tit
thing.
for tat, right?
Yeah.
Or there's something called rechilas. Oh, you didn't give me the loan, but I'm nice, and I'm going to give you the loan. Okay, you're not allowed to do that either.
Like bragging.
Right, or just like, you're bad, but I'm good, right? So
what's the word in Hebrew?
Rechilas.
Okay.
Okay, or lashon hara, right? Oh, like, so you could say, okay, I'm not gonna say lashon hara today. I'm not gonna say something bad about, I gotta tell my sister what happened with the other sister. But I'm not gonna tell her because I know you're not allowed to do that. So you can do it from that point of view, or you can do it from another point of view, from the point of view of Ahavas Yisrael, of loving your fellow. And what does that mean? We're gonna get into that soon. So let's read text number 11. I'm saving this one for you, Shelley.
Okay. Rashi answers these questions with his explanation that love another as yourself is a general principle that encompasses many details. Since it is a general principle, it's understood that its practical fulfillment happens through observing the individual details, and that starts with the commandments listed immediately before it. Don't be a gossip monger. Don't hate your fellow. Don't take revenge. And even before that with commands like don't steal.
So all these little mitzvahs are in a way are a pathway to the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, to loving your fellow, which is the guiding principle. And if you start doing these mitzvahs with the right attitude, with that loving attitude, right? We said the attitude of looking at people in a good light, trying to be compassionate, it will give you all these little mitzvahs, all these detailed mitzvahs, a deeper meaning and a better purpose, okay? So I'm going to give the example, right? So if you actually say, I'm going to look at people from a good eye, I'm going to look at people with compassion. So then someone does something, doesn't give you the loan, so you automatically you're going to start thinking, okay, I'm not going to be, you didn't give me a loan, I'm not going to give you a loan. No, okay, they couldn't give it to me for whatever reason, I understand. Or so you start, or lashon hara. Okay, I don't want to say something bad about that person because I don't want to, hurt them, or, because I want to look at them lovingly. So it starts to change the way you do all these mitzvahs. So similar, we're going to go back now to Shabbos. They have an example of Shabbos. So you can keep Shabbos in the robot mood. Oh, don't turn on the light. Don't do this. Don't do that, right? Don't cook something on the fire. Or you can look at it as a day of rest, and each detail in observing Shabbos helps you appreciate that rest better. Oh, so it could be like, I have to turn my phone off. I can't use my phone all Shabbos. Oh, yes, I can't use my phone all Shabbos, right? So it's the attitude. It's like, okay, this is a day of rest. I'm going to rest from the phone, or I'm going to rest from doing these things, and it's to help you appreciate that rest better. So it's the attitude of how you're looking at it. How you're looking at it as a general picture. Shabbos is a day of rest. I'm resting from all these things. These things are going to bring me to true freedom. Or is it Shabbos is a day that I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do that. I can't just sit on the couch and not move, right? So it just depends of how you are looking at it. So you can follow the rules with joy and love, and it will help build this freedom for you. Or you can look at it in a restrictive way.
I like sitting on the couch not moving. I enjoy that.
I know, you told me that once.
I did?
Okay, yes, you did. You told me you like to just decompress all Shabbos.
That's right.
Okay, see, I remember. Okay, so it's all in how you look at it, and then from that approach, how you fulfill that mitzvah. Okay, so you could not speak lashon hara because you're training yourself, so it's for yourself. Oh, I don't want to, sin, so I'm not going to speak lashon hara. Or you can have that Ahavas Yisrael, that loving your fellow mindset, and because you love every Jew, you don't want to hurt them, and then you're not going to speak it. And that's a whole different way of looking at it. Okay, so why does Rashi have to mention Rabbi Akiva by name? Okay, So why? Because it's a story of Rabbi Akiva, and he brings out a very interesting thing. So the story, I'll just give a little background before we go read it inside. There was a Roman governor. His name was Turnus Rufus, and he had, I guess there must be some word for it, but I lost my, can't think of the word right now. But he was of the opinion that if this is how the world is, God put like kind of like the what is it the what's called of the fittest? What's it called? Like
Sorry, what?
the something of the fittest. What's it called? The new
Survival
of the fittest.
Right,
So basically, God put this world down. If you're not savvy enough to make money and you're poor, then why? If we support you because you're poor, maybe we're upending God's.
Is this the emperor saying?
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
Is it the king? Okay, right.
Well, then we're kind of like messing up with God's rule and order. Because if the natural rule and order is that if you can't survive by making your own money and getting your own food, then why should you live? So maybe that's how God wants it to be. And Rabbi Akiva is saying, no, that's not how God wants it to be. And they start to bring a parable. Okay, so we're going to read the two parables in 12a. Okay, Catherine, you want to read it?
Okay. Turnus Rufus said to Rabbi Akiva, I will illustrate this to you with a parable. To what is this matter comparable? It is comparable to a king of flesh and blood who was angry with his slave and put him in prison and ordered that he should not be fed or given to drink. Then one person went ahead and fed him and gave him something to drink. If the king heard about this, would he not be angry with that person?
Now we're going to see what Rabbi Akiva answers. Sylvia, you want to read it?
Sure. Rabbi Akiva said to Turnus Rufus, I will illustrate the opposite to you with a different parable. To what is this matter comparable? To a king of flesh and blood who was angry with his son and put him in prison and ordered that he should not be fed or given to drink. Then one person went ahead and fed him and gave him a drink. If the king heard about this, once his anger abated, would he not react by sending that person a gift? Consider that we are called children, as it is written, you are children of God.
Okay, so Rabbi Akiva says we are Hashem's children. We're not just anybody. So of course Hashem wants the best for us and what's good for us. Okay, so the Roman governor, is looking at people as servants, and a servant, okay, the king is mad at them, so do away with them. But a father will always want their child to be saved.
You would think.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is so that changes everything because it's a child. And that's how Rabbi Akiva looked at the Jewish people. We are Hashem's children. And so, if so, then let us read text number 13. So, Batya.
Rabbi Akiva said, the Jewish people are God's beloved children. This love is amplified by the fact that God publicized our relationships as the verse states. You are children to the Lord, your God.
So we are all Hashem's children. That means we are family.
We
right?
are family.
We're children, not adults.
So why would we want to hurt someone from our own family?
Aside from family stone.
Right?
That's interesting.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we look at loving our fellow Jew as a principle, it's not refraining from hurting someone, like just following these rules or laws, but we don't want to hurt our own family. We want the best for our family. We want to love our family.
That's why some people, the groups, they call them each other brother and sister. Like, hi, brother, how you doing? Hi, sister, how you doing? To enforce not
sisters.
Right, not to hurt the other person.
So the Rashi is explaining something deeper in this idea, the concept of Ahavas Yisrael, of loving your fellow. So one, it's a guiding principle of love, rooted in understanding that every Jew is family. And number two, concrete actions, positive mitzvahs to perform and prohibitions to avoid, it helps bring this love to life. So by doing the acts of love, it helps us attain this true love of every Jew. Who is every Jew? Our family. Okay. So I'm going to end with another story. There was in the times of communism, many religious Jews were thrown to Siberia, right, to prison work camps, because they were considered traitors of the state. And so some big rabbis, there was this grand Rebbe of Shvil, his name was Chaim Shaul Brook. Oh, sorry, two different people. Grand Rabbi of Shvil, he was sent to Siberia. He ended up in the same prison camp as a man named Chaim Shaul Brook, who was a Chabad chassid. And they're both in this camp, for what? Spreading Judaism. And one Shabbos, the camp commander, he had a really sadistic way of doing things, looking at things, and he brought the Rebbe to the office and said, guess what? You're free to go tomorrow, but you need to sign this paper today. And it was Shabbos. And the man said, sorry, it's Shabbos, I can't sign it. He says, well, if you don't sign the papers, you'll be here for another 8 years.
Ooh.
That's it.
Well, it's a
Now
setup.
or no?
It's a setup. Everybody knows
No,
a
yeah,
setup.
it is a setup. Yeah,
It's a setup. Of course, it's a setup. I mean, they do that
So
all
he
the time
said-
in the military.
So he said, I can't
I see
sign,
this in
it's
America.
Shabbos. And the commander said, okay, don't sign. You'll be in prison for another 8 years. See how your God helps you then. And he said, if my God wanted to help me, he doesn't need you to help me.
Right,
We'll figure it out. We'll
exactly.
figure it out.
Right.
Then he, so this officer's really upset now. His whole plan, his whole
Right, don't set up his
yeah, it's all gone. He brings now. Oh, so okay. So now he brings his daughter. The officer, the commander, brings his daughter into the room, and he. Oh, sorry. He does. Sorry. I'm mixing up the story. Okay. He takes out his gun. He cocks the
pistol,
and
right.
he's ready to shoot the guy. And all of a sudden, the daughter walks into the room, and there's his dad. What are you doing? It's a waste of a bullet. Don't bother. And he stops and he says, "Oh, you think your God saved you? It's my daughter that saved you. Otherwise, he'd be dead by now." Anyway, then he says, "Okay, bring that other Jew in," and he brings in this Chassid Chaim Shaul, and he comes in and he says, and he does the same thing. Sign these papers, and you'll be free to go tomorrow. And Chaim Shaul says, "I can't sign. It's Shabbos. I can't violate Shabbos." Says, "Okay, you'll be here for another 8 years." And he's sorry, I can't write, it's Shabbos. And now the Rebbe, the other guy, says, "Give me the papers, I'll sign for him."
Oh.
And the guy said, "What? You wouldn't sign on Shabbos for yourself, but how can you sign on Shabbos for
him.
this guy?"
Right.
And he says, "Of course I can't sign on Shabbos for my own freedom. You know, I'm strong, I'll survive, I'll figure it out, whatever it is. But for my fellow Jew, he's a little weaker. I'm like saving his life by signing for him. So give me the papers and let me sign." Sure enough, they're both free within the next few days. So it just shows how much love for his fellow he had, that even though for himself he would never sign on Shabbos, for his Jew he would do anything.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not a
Maybe the other
violation of
guy,
Shabbos.
they crisscross sign.
Is that a true story?
Yes.
One sign for the other, one sign for the other.
Yeah. How did they get free?
Well, they signed.
No, he just signed for the other guy.
Yeah,
No,
but
that's
the
it.
other one signed for the
I
other guy.
think somehow they both got freed after that. Yeah.
The guy
But
died.
whatever it
and
is,
they all
actually died.
free.
Somehow it got.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it was a good lesson for us all tonight.
Very nice.
Yes.
Think again before you talk back about to someone, before you talk about someone.
Bye, everyone.
Like have this grudge against someone, try to see their side, try to remember that they're family, not the family that you don't speak to, but the family that you do love and care about.
But you can't love certain people.
You can
Try.
look at them from a
You
loving
can try.
perspective.
You can try.
That's what I was gonna say too. Like, hello, Hamas. How are we supposed
We're
to?
talking about Jew to Jew.
Okay, Jew to Jew's different.
Jew to Jew, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, people who are
Baruch Hashem. Okay,
philosophy have to do whatever you can to.
Of course.
yeah. No, that makes sense because of the family.
Yeah,
Jew to Jew.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.